A virtual bank can do three things for you. It can serve as your classroom management system when students have to gain and lose money for certain behaviors. It can help students know what their class job and their class responsibilities are, and it can give students a real experience with online banking. Hello, ladies and gents, my name is Thom Gibson, and if you're new here, this channel is all about helping middle school STEM teachers design an engaging classroom experience for their students and a fulfilling teaching experience for themselves. Today, I am walking through the virtual bank that I use in my classroom every day called Paygrade. I use Paygrade.io as my virtual bank because I've tried several of them, and this is the one that I actually like the most because it kind of meets all of the things that I'm looking for in a virtual bank. And while they have a free and a paid plan, everything that I'm gonna share today is on their free plan. And Paygrade is part of a larger system that I have in my class called a classroom economy, where students have class jobs that get paid in classroom money. And so Paygrade helps me manage all of that. And I've got some resources on how I actually manage my classroom economy linked down below in the description. So let's dive into the computer and see how to get Paygrade up and running in your classroom. So once you create your teacher account, it'll look a little bit like this. And there's a few things that we can do before we add our students. The first thing is we want to add jobs and descriptions to jobs. And so if you go to classroom and you go to, you go to economy and you go to jobs, and then you can see there are some that are already there. They're just kind of added there. You can, if there's some that you just want to edit, you can edit them. If there's some that you don't plan on using, you can just click on the edit button and say delete job and say, are you sure? And so before we start, you can say the pay frequency. I keep mine at monthly, but you can change it to whatever you would like to change it to. We're going to go ahead and click on create new. So let me pull up my how to do my jobs list. And let's say I'm going to do one for the tutorial creator. It's $1,600 a month. So let's go over here. We're going to say tutorial creator. As far as what goes here for the $1,600 a month, it's hourly pay. And so since there's 160 hours, you have to do 1,600 divided by 160. And maybe you're like, I don't know what that is. You just pull up a calculator. 1,600 divided by 160. Hey, it's $10 an hour. And so you can just put $10 an hour there, and then you can see, oh, it's 1,600. But you may have some that give you like a decimal and a fraction. You can go up to 3 decimal places after this, even though the money part is like, so let's say, for example, 1,500 divided by 60 or 160. 9.375. If you round it to $9.38, you're going to get not exactly 1,500. So you can actually put the whole amount, 9.375, and then it'll be 1,500 exactly a month. So go ahead and just put that whole thing. But I'm just going to do 10. Let's see, 10. And for the add requirements, this is going to be every line of your description, so your checklist here. So with this, I'm going to say you're going to be able to create tutorials using the Screamcast website Loom, and then email me when you create them. Let me copy that. Let me paste that here. Now you'll notice that Loom is not linked. It's really helpful if you've got things that students need to get to be linked here. I probably don't have to link Loom, but I do want to show you how you would link something here. It's going to be a little bit of HTML coding, not super complicated though, okay? So first, I wanna go get the Loom link that I have, http www.loom.com. I'll copy that, here we go. And then I'm gonna go here, and to make Loom a clickable link to the student, I'm gonna do a little open bracket, A space href, okay? And then hit equals. And then whatever you want your link to be, you need to put it in quotations. And so you put a little quotation, paste, end quotation, end bracket, okay? href equals, and then this is whatever you want to link to is going to go in the quotations. Now, the words that you want to be clickable, you need to have before you put this little tag, end A. Okay. If you don't put this, everything after this is going to be a clickable link. So it says Loom and email me whenever. All of that's going to be like a link. I just want the word Loom to be a link. And so that's why I say, okay, this is the end of what the text that I want to be clickable. So that's going to be right there. Click add requirement. And then let's go in. Let's copy this one. Be proactive. Add another requirement. As additional access, this one I believe you have to be on Plus, so I wouldn't worry about that. But if it is a banker, you give them banker privileges because it lets them manage and do transactions. This person's not a banker. I don't have to check that. And so I'm going to click on Create. And so now you see down here, Tutorial Creator, you've got Loom, and you can see on the bottom left there, it actually gives me the link. If I click on it, it'll take them to loom.com right there. And so those are my videos there. So you'll do that for every job. And just to show you, if I go to the banker, you can see, okay, additional access. Check that. This student, whenever they are assigned, if you give them the banker role, they will have those privileges, which I'll talk about in just a second. So let's go back home, and we want to set up our bills that are going to be withdrawn from the student accounts. So let's go to Economy. Let's go to Bills. There's already several of them here. Again, you can delete the ones that you don't want. And let's say in my class, I just do internet and rent. So let me delete. I believe these are probably there. But let's say there's a one that you want to create that is not here. Let's say rent's not here, and then you need to create it. I'm going to click on Create New. I'm going to call this Rent. This is going to be $1,000 a month, not $10,000, $1,000 a month, and it is a recurring withdrawal. It's going to be the first of every month. And the good thing is their paycheck goes in like the 25th or the 26th of the month. So the paycheck goes in a little bit before the rent comes out. This is going to be automatic. And so click Create, and then we've got rent there for $1,000. And then I'll show you how to actually assign that to students once we get our student accounts up here. The next thing we can do is set up our fines and our bonus money. Let's go to Economy, and let's go to Action Items. And you're going to see a few of them here already. Nope, just kidding. You're not going to see any here yet. Let's create a few of them. So as far as fines, let's say off-task behavior is going to be a $50 fine. Choose the group. It's a withdrawal. It's not money that they deposit. And then this is going to be, all students are going to have access to this. I'm not going to have an expiration date. I'm not going to hide this one. It's going to be visible so students can click on it if they do get an off-task behavior and have it come out. So I click Create, and then you can see it's a negative off-task behavior of $50. Let's say I have a dishonesty, fraud. That is going to be a lot more. It's $800. It is a withdrawal. All students, click Create. Now, you can also create actions. These are things that students can actually do to themselves in the bank. You can also create bonus money actions where it's going to be a deposit instead. So maybe on time to Zoom class. That is going to be a $25 deposit. $25 deposit. No expiration date, all students, and create. And then let's say in my class, I have a tie day Friday. If they wear a tie on Friday, they can get $50 whole dollars. So just for not showing up in their pajamas. It's going to be deposit, click Create. And so these are the 4 different actions that students can do. And I'm going to show you how to actually let students, where they are going to have to go later in this video to actually apply these to their accounts. If you don't want them to be able to apply any positive stuff, you don't have to put them here. You can maybe just have the banker deposit some of these things on their own. But I found with distance learning, it just was a lot easier to allow them to go and deposit their money. I just have my banker check the news log, which I'll show you in a second, to make sure that nobody's like adding things like adding 10 on time to Zoom class. And so the students know the banker is checking in on this stuff and will let me know about any nefarious activity. Let's go back home. There's a few more settings if we go to Economy and then we click Bank. So these are all the different types of accounts that students can have in their account, in their bank. And so I think a good one to start with is having a savings, checking, and credit card. But you see that none of these presets are savings, checking, and credit card. I don't really want wires because that's where they can send money to each other. And there's really no reason when you're doing this for the first time and they don't have their own businesses or anything like that. There's no reason to have wires. Checks are just kind of redundant and cause more work because your bankers have to approve the checks. And I just don't feel like dealing with that. And so there's no savings, checking, and credit. So you're going to have to click Add, create a banking profile. And let's call this one savings, checking, credit. and then actually click the 3 things there. We're not doing a 401k, we're not doing investments, we're not doing checks, or we're not doing wires. Click create. So once you've created that profile, we want to make it our default profile. So you have to click on banking profiles over here. You'll likely see another one that is set as the default, is checked as the default. Just check the new one as the default. Don't uncheck it, because then I found it causes issues and resets over to that one. So if I go back over to my banking profiles after I do that, I can see that the savings, credit, and checking is the default profile. So now when my students create their accounts, that is the profile that they will have, and then they won't have checks and wires and all that other stuff that I don't want. If you click on the little gear up here, you can see what your little interest rates and everything are. You can't change these on the free plan, but if students ask, what's 1%, what's 3%, what's negative 25%, you can kind of start telling them like, oh, if at the end of the month, because the payment schedule is monthly, you have anything on your credit card, you're going to get 25% of that balance added to your credit card bill. And same with like the positive APRs and interest rates. Every month, 1% or 3% will be added. So you can have a conversation with that if you teach math. If not, you can just say like, go research it and figure it out. So you don't actually have to take any class time, which I've done too. And so this is going to be the thing we set up next. It's pretty cool. It's called the Game of Life. Students can spin it. Right now I have it not being able to. This is a student view right now. They're not able to spin it on this particular day, but they spin it once a week, and it's virtually they're like, this is like gambling. You're encouraging us to gamble. I'm like, no, I'm not. And this is like life. Sometimes things happen that work in your favor. Sometimes things happen that work against your favor. Maybe it's good to have some money saved up just in case an emergency does happen. But they can spin it, and then they can see what it lands on here. I make them spin it at least once a month, but they can spin it up to once a week, just because I'm like, you can't just avoid life. Life's going to happen. And so let me show you how to actually set this up on the teacher side of things. On your homepage, you click on settings, and you do have to enable, this is going to be disabled. You do have to enable the Game of Life first, and then save that. And then you will come up to Classroom and click on Game of Life. And you can say what days you want the students to be able to spin. You can say how many spins they want per day. I just have it. My Thursday and Friday classes can do it. And so there we go. Technically, a student could log in on Thursday if they're in my Friday class and do it, but I don't even know if any of them do that. And I don't really like monitor it like super hard to say like, you can only do once a week. But if you click down here, there's a teacher main collection, and then you can see what the details are. You can see what we have going on so far. You can only do 10 of them here. And if you want to edit any of them, click on edit, and then you can change the name of it. I don't know where the description goes. I think maybe that shows up in there. I don't write anything for that. I think it shows up in their transaction history, but I just say what it is, and a negative if it's a withdrawal, and then nothing in front of it if it's a deposit. And there's my 10th one. I think those were 9, and then you can't add any more after that. And so this is kind of fun. I just kind of use these regular ones, the ones that kind of come with it, and I believe maybe I edited some of these, but you can just create whatever you want it to be, and then save it. And then it is going to be available to them on those days that they have right there. And then if you want to kind of have like a different version, like not the same ones every week, you can create a new Game of Life and just a new collection of stuff. Maybe you create like March Game of Life, and then there's different things for the month of March that you put here and different values just to kind of change things up. I haven't done that because I just now saw that create button today. So they've just been doing the same one all year. So maybe I'll create a new one. A few more settings from the home page. If we go to this purple settings button, I don't let students apply for a job here because I've got the whole Google form system to do with that. I do have a financial tip of the day. I don't have to update that. It just gets updated automatically. You can let them decide if they want to change their password. I don't turn the leaderboard on. I think it's on by default. That's so they can see who has what amount of money. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel good about that. But I do turn the news log on. That way they can see what all transactions have happened. Like this student got this, or this student paid for this, or this student paid rent. The only reason I really turn this on though is so that my banker can go to the news log and then see if there's anything weird going on about people depositing a lot of money that they haven't earned, because there's no way I can just turn the news log on just for the banker. And so that's why I have this on, and then I save it. I don't mention it to anyone. Some of the students find it. Most of them don't care though, so it's just kind of there. So now you're a little bit more set up to add some students. The easiest way to do this really is just to have this little button right here, the student sign up pin. If you click on that little arrow right there, click on this copy URL, and then if a student goes to that URL, it puts the pin in automatically, and it says like, oh, this is your teacher. That's going to be there already. And then they're going to do their username, the first name, the last name, and password. I recommend them, if they have an email, to use their email as their username, so it's a little bit easier to remember. Tell them to put their real first name and capitalize first letter, real last name, capitalize first letter, and then put their password. In an effort to keep them from forgetting their password, I tell them to write their password in their planner on their birthday. So if I was born on March 15th, I go to March 15th, my planner, and then I just write the password. And I can write Paygrade password or whatever. Not the most secure, but these are also kids, and I don't know how else to keep them to get it to a really secure place to confirm their password. And then since when I created my account, I said I was a middle school teacher, it gives them the option for 6th, 7th, or 8th. And then another way that you can get it for them to remember their password is for them to email themselves their password, and then say, just draft an email to yourself, put the subject line, Paygrade, username, and password, and then write your username and then write your password. Also, not the most secure, but I'm just trying to create as many ways that the student doesn't say, I forgot my password, I can't get in. You can create a fine for that too, though, the forgotten password fine, to discourage some of that. So those are a couple options. I believe you may also, if you go back home, if you have Google Classroom, you can import students from Google Classroom. I don't use Google Classroom, so I'm sure that feature is probably a little bit easier than having them create their usernames and passwords that way. And of course, you can just add a student, a one-off student, manually if you would like, and create their username and password that way. So I recommend just sharing the link. It's going to be the easiest for you. And then as students are being added, just read off their names. Hey, I've got Steven, I've got Jessica, I've got Isenia. Coulter, where are you? Coulter, I still don't have you. Have you created your account yet? Have you emailed yourself yet? Have you done that? Especially doing this virtually, it was kind of more challenging than doing it in person. But that's probably the easiest way, or importing via Google Classroom. So now that you have your students, I just have this test student account right here. You can assign the jobs. And so let's say test student, they are unemployed. I'm going to click, if I have my big list of jobs, I can just say, okay, I know that this student is actually going to be my banker. And so I'm going to click on banker. And then if my students have any, if maybe you have a class where students have 2 jobs, you can do that as well. A note on that, if you do have a class with students with 2 jobs, I like to give the opportunity for everyone to have 2 jobs. So that way, like, not 2 students are just completely crushing it with dual incomes while everyone else is like on a single income. So, but most of my classes just have 1 job. So you can click on save, and now that student has been assigned banker. And then you can just do that for all of your students, or you can hire a head banker and have them do that for you. Hire them first, let them know they're the head banker, and say, now I need you to go through and add everyone on this job. Give them your username and password so they can do that, and then they can use your document to do that for you. To actually assign the bills, you can see this student doesn't have any bills yet. Even though we created the bills, we need to assign the bills to that student. And so if we go from this home page and say assign bills, and then say what bill, I want to assign the internet to all of my students, apply. I also want to assign the internet bill, the rent bill, to all of my students, apply. And now it is now automatically going to withdraw from test student number 1, both the internet and the rent, on the 1st of the month. So if you want to apply some student actions to the students, there is the mass apply action item here. So if we click right here, this is going to take you a page with all of your students. And so if you want to apply something to all of them, you click all, or if there's individual ones that you want to apply, you can do that here. And so let's say I wanted to apply an action to that student. I could just click on their name and click on apply action, or click on a couple students' name, click on apply action, and say what I am applying. I can also create a custom action if I want to apply something, either a deposit or withdrawal that's not here or not for one of these values. Now, with my bonus money, I don't actually go in and deposit it. I give them a couple minutes at the beginning of class of like, if you're on time or if you're a part of a club this week, you've got 30 seconds to go into Paygrade and then deposit your money. And I'll show you that when I get to the student side of things. But that's just, if they're not willing to go into it themselves, I'm not going to spend time doing it. So they can do that. Even with withdrawals, like if there's a student that's doing something they shouldn't be doing, I generally won't be the one to go in and say, you're off task. I ask the student, I'd like you to go in and do an off-task behavior fine, because I kind of want them to feel the sting of going in and seeing that money getting taken out as opposed to it just kind of happening without them really realizing it. There have been times where a student didn't do their job and I wasn't in class with them. And so like I just went ahead and did it because I didn't want to forget about it and then have to follow up and make sure they did it. So I just said, hey, I just want you to know that I withdrew. I charged a fine for job infraction because you didn't complete your newsletter this week, even though you said it was supposed to be due by Monday. So what can I do to support you to make sure that you can get it done? So that's there are times that I do it, but I generally try to get them to withdraw it themselves. But at the beginning of the year, I do like to give everyone a signing bonus. And just we talk about what a signing bonus is. So I do this after everyone's been enrolled and I click apply to all. I create a custom action and I call this one signing bonus. Welcome to Thomunism, as my students have coined it. And then it's a $200 signing bonus, and then I apply it, and that has been added to everybody's account. And so that's kind of fun. So let's go home. Let's see the student perspective of things. What I love about Paygrade is I can easily pull up a student account without having to log out of my teacher account using this little key over here. And so if I click on that, it even opens up a new tab so I can go back and forth. But this is the student account. There's that financial tip of the day that I was talking about. It refreshes every day. If I make any announcements, that'll show up there. I don't really use that though. And so here you can see their checking. Here you can see their savings. You can see if they don't have any money in checking and money comes out, it then automatically goes on the credit card. Their checking won't go into the negative. Anything will just automatically go on their credit card. You can see over here, they've got their job responsibilities here. And what's nice, I just saw this. There's another, this must be new. If it's a banker, they have a little bit more freedom to apply actions to students. So they get this same screen that we were at a little bit earlier. So if you need a banker to take care of some actions for some students, that option is there as well. You can see their bills. They can see their bills, when they come out, when the next charge is going to be. And then you can see that transaction history, that signing bonus, that note, who did that transaction history. That was their teacher, me, and then the deposit and what their balance is. And then they can see the transaction history for the savings and the credit card. So the way that they're going to add their own bonus money and their own fines is they're going to click on banking actions here on the home page, and they're going to say what it is. If they wore a tie on Tie Day Friday, and at the beginning of class, I'm like, you got 30 seconds to deposit anything that you get to deposit. They're like, oh, I wore a tie today, and I was on time for Zoom, and so I'm just going to click right here. We'll let that. So there it is. You can see the deposits right there, on time and Tie Day Friday. And then again, of course, if it's a banking action, but it's a withdrawal, then they would, do off-task behavior. And then you can see if they get a fine, but they don't have enough money, like $800, and they only have $275. Let's see what happens. Boo, dang, $525 on the credit card. And so they'll have to pay this off as soon as possible, so that way that doesn't compound at the end of the month. And the way they can pay off or transfer any money to checking or savings or transfer money from checking to the credit card is they click on bank transfer. And then they say what account they want to go from to what account and how much money it is. I don't have enough money to do that, so I can't transfer it. But that's how they pay off their credit card to make sure they don't have any compounding interest. A couple things about this over here. Net worth is really how much money they have minus the amount of money they have to pay in bills. And so if they have $1,050, but they have $1,050 in bills, their net worth is zero because that money is going to have to go towards bills. And so some students were kind of confused about that. They're like, why is my net worth zero when I have $1,050? It's like, well, because that's going to be going towards your bills. So to spin the game of life, once a week, they can go to my bank and then click on Game of Life, and then they will see that it is there. And it is right there. And so you can see when they spin it, whoa, this is so wild. What's going to happen? Tick, 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 tick. Oh my gosh, I got $1,000 work bonus. And so that student may want to go and pay off their credit card right away from their checking to their credit card because now they got the money. And they're like, I don't even care about being dishonest because I can just spin the wheel of life and gamble my problems away. And then they transfer it, and now you can see that their balance is now 0, and then this balance is $475. Again, if you have a banker, they can click right here to apply student actions like I showed you. But sometimes if another student made a mistake, I asked the banker, can you go reverse that transaction? Maybe the student was like, oh, I accidentally did tie day Friday, but I don't have a tie, and can you undo that? That's not dishonesty because they told me. So if they go to the bankers, if they go up to jobs, they have this little extra feature right here that clicks on banker, and then they click on overview. From the overview page, they can see everyone's transactions right here. To go into the student's transaction history, they're going to have to go to this little number 8 under the transaction column. Click on the 8. Here, they can also add a custom action or one of the actions that are there if you want to have them deposit bonus money or something like that. And then they can see the transaction history. If that student wasn't supposed to get tie day Friday, they just click on this reverse button right here. And now that's been reversed. That $50 has been taken out. It does keep it right here just so you can see where all this transactions happened and what got reversed and what did and stuff like that. And so I said earlier that I have my banker go to the news log to kind of see any transaction history. And so they can go to my group and then they can go down to the news log and then they'll see any transactions that have happened that day right here. So they can see if someone deposited something multiple times or maybe something that maybe shouldn't have been there. And then I have them do that at the end of every class and they can just go back through the days if they need to do that if they're not meeting every day. I talked a lot about class jobs in this video, and so you can check out the video right there called 5 Essential Student Jobs That Every Middle School Classroom Needs. My name is Thom. I hope you learned something today that'll help you design an engaging classroom experience for your students and a fulfilling teaching experience for yourself. And hopefully I will see you in the next video.